Complementary angles. Complementary angles are two angles whose measures have a sum of 90 degrees. So the first thing I'm thinking about is have a sum. Have a sum means that it adds up to. So two angles whose measures adds up to 90 degrees. And the other thing I'm thinking about is 90 degrees. Well, 90 degrees, what does that look like? So in a picture, you may see something like this, where you have this angle, and in the corner of that angle they put a box. It's like a little square, and that little square is telling us that the measure of this angle is 90 degrees. Another way you might hear about 90 degrees is called a right angle. So these are some things that come up when I'm thinking about the definition of complementary angles. Okay, so now that we know what it looks like, and another way of naming a 90 degrees, which is also known as a right angle. So now we're saying complementary angles. So again, this is plural. This is only one angle, so we want to talk about complementary angles, so more than one. So complementary angles is when you have a right angle, and in that angle, let's create another ray coming out of that angle, such that it splits it up. So you can see now we have one angle here and another angle here. So these two angles combined create our 90 degree angle, or our right angle. So like if you imagine ignoring this ray that I just drew, then you would see that this was originally a 90 degree angle. Okay, so this is what a pair of complementary angles looks like. So think about it. If you have a right angle and you split up that right angle with another ray, you basically just created a pair of adjacent angles, and in this case they're complementary because they add up to 90. And the other case is if the angles are not adjacent and they don't have the common vertex. They can be separate angles. So let me create one angle such that it is about 60 degrees. So that's the measure of this angle here. And then I'm going to create one more angle such that its measure is 30 degrees. And I'm going to call this angle P and this angle Q. Notice the letters are capital letters. So if I asked you, are these angles complementary, then the real question I'm asking is, do these two angles measures add up to 90 degrees? So I can check. Well, let's see. The measure of angle P plus the measure of angle Q. What do those two angles measures add up to? So the measure of angle P, I can see here, is 60 degrees, plus the measure of angle Q, I can see here, is 30 degrees. If I add 60 and 30, I get 90. So I can see that the measure of angle P plus the measure of angle Q has a total of 90 degrees. Therefore, I can conclude is complementary. So these two angles are complementary angles. If the two angles do not have a sum of 90, meaning when you combine the two and they don't add up to 90 degrees, then your conclusion would be that the angles are not complementary.